Okay, so I've been asked about making a chopping board design so that you have your own image at the back and then your own measurements or wording at the front so that you can read the wording at the front. So I'm going to show you a few different ways to do this. So to start with, I'm just going to draw a box the same size as my chopping board. So if I come to the rectangle tool, I'm just going to draw my box. So let's just unlock that aspect ratio. So my chopping boards I'm using, they are 280 millimeters wide and they are 200 millimeters tall. So it's just the small A4 ones. And I'm just going to centralize that to my page up here. So align center and align middle and apply. Okay, and my box here, I have a white background and just a black outline, although it hasn't got any stroke at the moment. So let's add a stroke in there so that I can see my outline. And I could make it so the background is transparent if I'd rather, but I'm just going to leave it at white for now because I'm going to be covering it with an image anyway. So if I now insert my image that I want at the back of my chopping board, so I'm going to come down to the Place Image tool and I'm going to choose the image I'd like. So I am going to use this one of Margaret's sweet peas. So let's pop that in there. So I'm just going to have to drag that down just a little bit, just stretch it slightly just to fit the design. But there we are. So that's fitted inside my chopping board and it's currently sat on top of the rectangle. I can drag them into each other, but I'm just going to leave it as it is for now. So then I'm going to add my wording over the top. So there are two ways I can do this. I can come down and add my text and draw my text box over the top, which I'm going to do in a moment. Or you can use a ready done PNG or an SVG or something of a conversion chart, which you can just layer on the top. So I'm going to do that one first. So I'm going to come to the Place Image tool again. And I'm going to come, so I'm just going to use this one here. So I'm just clicking and dragging it over the top. And I don't actually want these bits at the top and the bottom, so I'm just going to use my vector crop tool just to get rid of those bits there. And to get rid of this bit here. So just click off of that. Now I'm going to lock my aspect ratio so that it stays in proportion as I make it bigger. And I'm just going to make that the size that I want. So I have snapping on to make this a bit easier, but as I move it around, you can see those lines that appear that show me when it is centered on my page. Now I can see the text, I can see the image through the text, but it's not very clear. So what I can then do is if I click on my image that's underneath, I can just come here to the opacity and I can just lower that slightly just so that I can see the text a bit more clearly on the top. Another thing I could do if I wanted to is add a box between my measurements layer and my image layer, and I could reduce the transparency of that, which would give a bit of a gradient effect. So if I just show you that one, if I just add a box in here. Okay, so my box is white. I've got a black outline. I'm just going to turn that outline off because I don't want to see the outline on there. I'm going to move that. There we are. So that is more or less centered. There we are. That's centered there. It's actually this one that doesn't seem to be. There we are. That's better there. So I have my white rectangle between my measurements and my image, and I can just move that up and down. So if I wanted it at the front, I'll just move it forward a layer. If I want it back one, I'd move it back a layer. I can also move them within my layers panel. And then if I make sure that that white rectangle is selected, I can reduce the opacity. So you can still see the image around the sides, and then you've got a white box behind your text. Now I'm just going to delete that. And I'm going to delete the kitchen conversion just for now. So I have my image, it's at 100% opacity. Let's try adding your own text on the top. So I don't know, let's say I want it to say Mum's Kitchen. So you can see the text is writing here. I can do it this way. It might have been easier to have done it clicking this toggle and going to artistic text, but I've done the frame text tool now. So let's highlight my text. Let's make it nice and big, maybe even bigger. I can adjust my font if need be. I'm just going to centralize it, and I'm going to center it in the text box as well so that I know it's centered on my page. There we are, and that is centered. Now, what I could do if I wanted that text to stand out without reducing the opacity of the image that's below is I could add an outline to my text. So to do that, I'm just going to come to the Effects tool. And so you can see you've got all these different options, but I'm going to scroll down to outline. I'm just going to tick the box. And then you can select the colour that you want for the outline. So I'll often do like a white outline. So let's just put the hex code in there to make sure I get it right. And then you're just going to increase the radius until your text stands out on the background. And then if I click off of that, you can see it does stand out a bit better. I can still go back to my layers panel and have a play around. So if I select my my image that's underneath and click the drop down, I can reduce the opacity, but I might not need to reduce it by quite as much for my text to stand out. So that's the difference if you're using a PNG or an SVG over the top of an image, or whether you're doing your own text, then that gives you the option to add your outline. So I hope that helps. Look forward to seeing your chopping board designs.